Hello YouTube. I want to talk about my experience after Hurricane Harvey. I rode out Hurricane Harvey south of Houston, and we had fast moving water flowing into our subdivision. The streets became impassable, and it remained that way for almost 5 days. 2 days after the hurricane, my spouse died, and I ended up finding out that we had roof damage that resulted in us developing mold in the house. And simultaneously, the builder of our home had constructed our home improperly. So the subfloor was actually split everywhere where the sheets of plywood would meet. This resulted in water vapor getting in through the floor because water flowed into the house. And we developed mold in the carpet and the foam padding, and also in the attic, in the plywood underneath the air conditioning system, and in other places in the house along the tack strips. And we all ended up getting sick. My family and I got sick. My wife was our provider. She wanted to work full time. And when she died, and we got sick with the mold, I lost my job as well. I applied for FEMA, and they denied me, saying I had homeowner's insurance. And my homeowner's insurance denied that we had water damage. They walked in, took one look at the master bedroom, didn't even tour the full house or walk through the attic, crawl, or walk through underneath the house. I remember what my appraiser looked like. It was a young African-American man in a polo shirt and slacks, and he didn't even spend a half hour in the house. We stayed sick for years. I applied for legal aid with Lone Star Legal Aid. I applied for home repair with Habitat for Humanity. There was a local housing rehabilitation program in the county that I was in, and we got waitlisted, and they never called us. The person who was processing those applications retired. When my lender found out about the mold and the fact that we were all sick because of defects in the house, they sold our loan to a predatory servicer called Shell Point Mortgage Servicing. It also goes by New Res and New Pen. And we ended up having a default manufactured. They raised my fixed rate mortgage. It was around $860 a month when they started out. When they finished, it was over $1,100 a month they were asking for. While I was getting survivor's benefits, while members of my family were also getting survivor's benefits, because our provider had died. They raised it in an effort to push our loan into default. They applied force-placed homeowners insurance, and they wouldn't tell us who the insurer was for months. Had no way of contacting those people. My prior insurance had been Rockland Homeowners Insurance in Richmond, Texas, and when I had filed a claim with them, they told me that I didn't have more than $700 in damage in my house, which was absolute bullshit. I called the claim number they gave me, and it was a deadline, and I was never able to get assistance. So our home remained damaged, and eventually we moved out December 28th, 2019, and the house sat vacant for 2020, 2021, and 2022 until it was foreclosed on. I came back, and the front windows had been broken out. It had been vandalized, and the grass was more than 12 feet high throughout the yard. And I couldn't sell it during that entire period of time. I applied for assistance from the Texas Land Office, trying to get a loan to repair the house so that our home would be livable. Our entire life savings and all of our investments were sunk into the property. We couldn't get any help, and we ended up losing our entire investment. Later on, in the course of that period of time after September 2017, up until we moved out, I found out that my wife was a special victim and a violent crime victim prior to her death, and that because of being with her, I was also victims of the same, as was another member of our household. I couldn't get legal assistance even after coming forward with those circumstances. There were racial and sex-based stereotypes that prevented me from getting that assistance. There were assumptions that were made by those offices, and we ended up losing everything that we had. That was how Hurricane Harvey and the response of local and state and federal government impacted my life. I want to add one more thing too. The federal government has been sending billions of dollars to Israel and Ukraine, and I understand that what is happening there is wrong, and I believe those people should be assisted by someone, by various different governments and so forth, but Americans should always be taken care of first. Americans should always be provided for by their government first. If we have the money to send hundreds of billions of dollars overseas to fund foreign wars for our allies and for nations that are not strictly our allies, we should be able to provide home repair assistance and rehouse people who have been affected by natural disaster in the United States. Harvey wasn't the first major flood disaster or hurricane the U.S. has had. And every time that one of these disasters happens, people like me and my family are the ones who fall through the cracks. I was vocal about my concerns and the needs that we had. I didn't have a support network or family I could depend on to assist with repairs. And it's not my fault that things turned out that way. I sent thousands of letters about our concerns and was never able to get any help whatsoever. If you live along the Gulf Coast, especially anywhere around Houston, this could happen to you.